Husband carries out long-expected retaliation after revealing wife's years of cheating. It was a crisp autumn evening, the golden light of the setting sun casting a warm glow over the city streets as Thomas returned home from work. He had always looked forward to this time of day, the moment when he could relax, catch up with his wife, Clara, and share their day over dinner. They'd been married for over a decade, building a life together, and to the outside world, their marriage was the perfect picture of love and success. Friends and family admired them, calling them the ideal couple, the ones who had it all. But lately, something felt different. There was a shift in the air, an unspoken distance between him and Clara that he couldn't quite place. It started with the small things. The late nights at work that seemed to stretch longer and longer, the sudden need for space, and her odd, sudden reluctance to talk about her day. At first, Thomas dismissed his concerns as mere paranoia. After all, Clara was always so attentive, so loving. But a nagging feeling in his gut couldn't be ignored. One particular evening, as he walked through the front door of their home, he noticed a faint scent of perfume in the air, something he didn't recognize. It wasn't the scent Clara usually wore. His heart skipped a beat. The house was quiet, too quiet. Normally, Clara would be there, smiling, ready to greet him with a kiss. But tonight, there was an eerie stillness. He glanced around the living room, half expecting to find her curled up with a book or watching TV. But then, his eyes fell on her phone, lying casually on the coffee table. It seemed like such an innocent object, until Thomas saw it for what it was, a gateway to the truth. Something inside him urged him to pick it up. He'd never snooped before, but tonight he felt compelled to know. As his fingers swiped across the screen, his heart began to race. The first message he saw made his blood run cold. "I can't wait to see you tonight. I've missed you so much. I love you." The message was from a man named Marcus, someone Thomas had never heard of before. His stomach churned as he scrolled further, finding more texts, more intimate messages and pictures. Proof that Clara had been having an affair with Marcus for nearly 3 years. The betrayal hit him like a thunderclap, loud and deafening, but Thomas didn't react immediately. Instead, a cold calm washed over him. This wasn't just about anger or hurt, it was about justice. He wouldn't confront Clara now, not when she was expecting him to be upset. No, Thomas would play his cards carefully. He would wait for the right moment. For weeks, Thomas kept his composure, playing the role of the oblivious husband. He went about his usual routine, working, spending time with their children, and pretending nothing had changed. But all the while, he watched Clara more closely, observing her every move. He knew what she was doing, and he knew what she was hiding. His mind was constantly working, strategizing, plotting, and preparing for the moment he would expose her for everything she was. He gathered evidence quietly, saving screenshots and documenting everything he could. He spent his evenings putting together a meticulous plan, one that would leave Clara no room for escape. This wasn't going to be some explosive confrontation. It would be a well-executed revelation that would destroy her sense of control and force her to face the truth of her actions. The day finally came. It was a Friday evening, and Clara had just returned home from what she claimed was another late meeting with work colleagues. She entered the house, expecting the usual warm greeting from her husband, but something was different this time. Thomas was waiting in the living room, the soft glow of the fireplace casting long shadows across the room. His posture was calm, but there was a weight in the air, an undeniable tension. "Clara," he said, his voice steady but firm. "We need to talk." Clara smiled nervously, but her eyes flickered with a hint of unease. She set her purse down and asked, "What's wrong?" "You seem serious." Without saying another word, Thomas stood up slowly and walked toward her. He held up her phone in his hand, the device that had sealed her fate. His thumb swiped across the screen, revealing the incriminating messages to Clara, one after the other. "Do you recognize these, Clara?" he asked, his tone quiet but piercing. Clara's face went pale as she stumbled backward, her mind struggling to process what was happening. She opened her mouth to speak, but the words failed her. For the first time in their marriage, she was speechless, caught in a web of lies she had meticulously spun for years. Thomas continued, his eyes locked on hers. "I know everything. The lies, the cheating, the deceit. You've been having an affair with Marcus for over 3 years. All the late nights, all the excuses, and you thought I wouldn't figure it out. I knew, Clara. I knew for months." He paused, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. Her body trembled and tears welled up in her eyes, but Thomas wasn't finished. "I've been patient. I've been quiet. I didn't want to react impulsively. I wanted you to understand the magnitude of what you've done. You've lost me, you've lost my trust, and most of all, you've lost the respect I once had for you." Clara, now a mess of guilt and shame, stammered, "Thomas, I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you. It just happened and I—" But Thomas cut her off. "Sorry? You think sorry is enough?" He shook his head, his voice growing steadier. "The truth is, Clara, I've already moved on from this. You're the one who has to live with the consequences now." And just like that, Thomas stood up and walked toward the door, leaving Clara frozen in place. He had no need to yell, no need to fight. He had already won. His retaliation wasn't about punishing her, it was about taking control of his own life, reclaiming his peace, and showing her that actions have consequences. Over the next few days, Thomas didn't engage with Clara, and he made sure that her infidelity was known to their family and friends. Her social circle shrank rapidly as people who once admired her began to distance themselves. Clara was left to pick up the pieces of her broken life, struggling to come to terms with the reality of her actions. As for Thomas, he found peace. He took time to reconnect with his children, to rediscover himself, and to start anew. His career flourished, and with time, the pain of betrayal began to fade. He realized that the greatest revenge was not in hurting Clara, but in walking away and rebuilding a life that was his to control. The best thing he could do was let her destruction unfold naturally, without lifting a finger. What would you have done in Thomas's shoes? Would you have handled things the same way? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a thumbs up, share your experiences, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Thank you for being part of our community. Until next time.